Hey everybody, this is Alex Ibsen with New Dawn. Thanks for joining today's broadcast. To make sure you get the very best viewing experience today, I'd like to remind you to please shut down your email or any other web application that might be eating up some of your bandwidth. Also, if you're running on a wireless internet connection, you are likely to have glitches in your audio. We recommend you plug your computer in with an Ethernet cable. If you can't do that, or if you experience audio problems for any reason during the live presentation, you always have the option to watch the on-demand recording later. I will be your presenter today. As you probably guessed, you can submit questions to the left at any time. We will be collecting your questions throughout the broadcast. Today's broadcast is 5 benefits of e-filing. In just a few moments, we will be joined by Michael Rowson from the Appeals Unit of the Utah State Tax Commission. The State Tax Commission has been using JusticeWeb E-Filing in conjunction with their JustWare case management system. By allowing appeals cases to be submitted online through the JustWare E-Filing portal, the State Tax Commission has experienced many benefits. There are 5 particular benefits that come as a result of e-filing I would like to highlight before Michael joins us. The first is convenience. By accepting filings and documents to be submitted to your office online, the burden of data entry is shifted to the submitter. Through any web browser, an individual can be walked through a step-by-step filing process of progressive pages. The selection made will guide a submitter through the proper filing processes. For your office, you will receive the e-filings immediately and no longer require manual data entry. The second is accuracy. It can be difficult to read handwritten paper forms, which results in a lot of time trying to figure out what was written down and some data entry error by your staff. By shifting the data entry onto the submitter, the accuracy of data goes up drastically. The third is time savings. There is a tremendous amount of time savings as a result of e-filing. By eliminating data entry efforts by your staff, all you must do is review a submission to ensure correctness and then move it to the proper process. A submitter's filing is also received faster and processed faster because it is not delayed by the mail or by the time your staff has for data entry. The fourth is cost savings. As a result, there is a great deal of cost savings associated with e-filing. Because time spent entering cases is greatly reduced, your organization's costs will also reduce. In addition, your office's paper storage will go down tremendously if you keep the filings electronically within your case management system. The fifth is efficiency. When connecting your e-filing and case management systems, workflow automation can automate repetitive tasks throughout the filing process, making an online filing portal the most efficient way to file a new case. Easily escalate cases, automate documents, automatically send notification to involved parties, and more without lifting a finger. To expand on these 5 benefits, I'd like to welcome Michael Rowson from the Utah State Tax Commission.
To start, Michael, can you please describe your role at the Utah State Tax Commission and the type of cases the appeals unit handles?
Yes, my role here at the State Tax Commission is I support all of the technology used by the appeals unit of the State Tax Commission. The appeals unit handles every appeal for every taxpayer where they object to either an audit or a tax assessment. We handle 30 different types of taxes, with the largest being income tax, sales tax, withholding tax, but we also handle some not quite as obvious taxes, including like motor vehicle registration, licensing of car dealers, and all of those can be appealed in a number of ways. Property tax is also a large portion of our appeals.
Okay. With all those different types of cases, do you have a rough number of how many cases that your unit processes a year?
Yes. We handle about 4,000 cases a year through and that workload is handled by 5 judges and a support staff of about 8, as well as our 4 commissioners. That number is roughly double what it was in 2007, but yet the budgets being what they are, our staffing has not increased, even though the workload has doubled.
How long has Utah State Tax Commission been using JustWare, and how has that helped your staff in being able to keep the same numbers but handle more cases?
Oh boy, let's see. We went live in November of 2010 with JustWare, and it has helped tremendously specifically with the electronic filing cabinet. Every document we receive, we scan and place in there. We have saved a considerable amount of time with not having to do the where's the file hunt. Scheduling and being able to view your calendar and events has been greatly enhanced with our use of JustWare as opposed to the case management system we were using in the past.
Tell me a little bit about the uses of JusticeWeb. How has that connected with the JustWare solution and assisted in further reducing the time of processing all of those cases coming in?
JusticeWeb has been nothing short of incredible for us. We have one clerk whose job is to enter all of the 4,000 cases that we receive, and the majority of these petitions that she receives are handwritten. We had a significant amount of data entry errors as a result of trying to translate what a taxpayer had written on a form, and just the inevitable human error associated with data entry. Being able to transfer that burden onto the person that's actually filing the petition, making it so that they are actually handling that portion of the data entry, that everything is entered correctly, has saved us a significant amount of time and costs associated with the inevitable data entry errors. Not to mention the amount of time, the time savings associated with having taxpayers file their petitions online. On average, our data entry person spends about 45 minutes per petition entering the new ones that we receive on paper, whereas the ones that we've received via JusticeWeb, she spends about 3 minutes on.
Wow.
So it's a huge time savings. Aside from that, we receive large amounts of property tax appeals. That's nearly half of our caseload, and those get submitted to us by the counties, and the larger counties obviously have more appeals. In the past, they would submit those to us in they would send boxes over of petitions with dozens or hundreds of petitions for her to enter, and those would just pile up in her cube, and she would get to them when she would just slowly work her way through them. As the counties have been filing these petitions online, since we receive the information immediately, including the scanned documentation, and she spends her 3 minutes looking at the information to make sure it's all correct, and then is able to pass the case along. The case gets opened generally within a couple of hours from the time that we've received the online petition, as opposed to potentially months before it gets entered off the paper copies.
If you can communicate that, hey, your case is going to be process, maybe even the same day that it's submitted, rather than sitting around in a box for a month or two. I mean, that message in itself should communicate to individuals that, hey, it's beneficial for you and it's beneficial for us for you to be submitting your appeal cases through this JusticeWeb portal.
Absolutely.
So how has that been received? Has there been a high adoption rate of case submittals through the online portal, or how has that been communicated out to the public and the counties that that's available to them?
We actually had one of our commissioners contact representatives with each county, and we offered training on JusticeWeb, both in person for counties that wanted to actually come to our location in Salt Lake City, and we also did some go-to meeting sessions online for the more rural counties, and offered those trainings multiple times and had a very high attendance rate. And those counties that did participate in the training have nearly 100% adoption rate. It saves them time. As far as the property tax appeals go, it's the counties themselves that would have had to have filled out the paperwork to begin with. So just being able to type it in through a web page saves them that headache and hassle of also then having to send the documentation to us. So, yes, nearly 100% adoption rate amongst the counties that have attended the training. Salt Lake County is the largest county as far as number of appeals. They will be adopting it for the 2012 tax year. We started with the JusticeWeb with making it available in October of 2011, and at that point Salt Lake County had already started their process as far as the submission of paper, so they decided not to interrupt that process this year, but once we have them on board for 2012, it will be over 90% of all property tax appeals will be received electronically.
How many cases come from Salt Lake County of the 4,000?
Let's see. Well, Ann is still working her way through the boxes in her office, but they've turned in over 600 since October.
Okay, so it sounds like it's been very well received in those counties that you were able to do the trainings with, and then with Salt Lake coming on board as well. Having 90% of your cases coming electronically in will be a huge time saver for them and for your staff. Can you describe the process of submitting cases through JusticeWeb and what your role is in the process?
Traditionally, a taxpayer or county would fill out a one-page petition and then submit documentation along with it. Through the JusticeWeb product, we were able to duplicate all of the pertinent information from those petitions into web pages and able to do it in a more of a logical workflow from screen to screen using JusticeWeb as opposed to the single sheet of paper. For example, one of the screens that you will be that you will see on JusticeWeb deals with the taxpayer information, their name, address, phone number, email, that sort of thing. But it prompts you at the bottom, asks if you have representation. So if you select that you do have representation, you're greeted with one screen asking you for that representative's information. If you don't, then it moves on to the next logical piece of information that we would need to complete the appeal. So this is something that we don't get with a single sheet of paper where you have all of these different boxes of information, of which 70% may not apply to your specific case. With JusticeWeb, we're able to tailor that information based on your responses so that we receive all of the information that's important to your case, and the taxpayer does not receive, is not prompted for anything that is irrelevant to them. For example, we don't need to know your parcel number on your property if it's a sales tax appeal. It's just not relevant. So with JusticeWeb, we're able to tailor that information or the screens accordingly. As far as the configuration of JusticeWeb, it's all done straight from Justware through a JusticeWeb system administration piece that is incredibly slick. It doesn't require that you have HTML knowledge, so you don't need a specific web programmer to develop these pages. The amount of configuration available is astounding, and from what I hear, there's plenty more that's coming down the pipeline in the near future.
What are any of your future plans for the JusticeWeb portal?
Well, we've again had the high adoption rate for property tax, and that is a result of our close working relationships with the counties themselves. Our next goal is to make it known that it's out there for individual taxpayers. We do currently have it available. We just haven't done any sort of promotion letting taxpayers know that this tool is available yet. So we would like to make the general public aware that this is an option for them, and would like to then roll it out for all of the other taxes aside from property tax, which is already available.
Well, great, Michael. Thanks for walking me through that, and thanks very much for joining us today. It's been great to hear about the high adoption rate that you guys are receiving through these online case submittals and the time savings that has resulted from that. So that's great to hear, and great to hear that there's a lot of works in the future to further extend those online case submittals through the Salt Lake County. So once again, thank you for joining us, and I'd like to keep you on just for a couple minutes, and we'll field any questions coming in through the chat window, if that'll be okay.
That sounds great.
Okay, thank you.